So a few days ago, we talked about this situation in which there is an update on, we'll go over today in just a moment. But of course, we had articles like this coming out from PC Gamer. Former Dragon Age writer says Clair Obscur Expedition 33 and Baldur's Gate 3 prove what's possible when the game is given time to cook, implying that Veilguard just needed more time to cook. And even on his Blue Sky account, he elaborated on that take, saying, yeah, if Veilguard had more time to cook, it would be better. That's what it needed, guys. That was the only problem with Veilguard, apparently. Of course, people in the responses were roasting this take. Christina Tasty, for example, saying, quote, Veilguard, which was well received by players, unquote, something seemingly from the article there. Going on to say, mixed on Steam and still dropping months later after the drama is over, 3.9 on Metacritic. You can't gaslight people who can use Google, PC Gamer. As well as, the heck are they on about? DA had 9 freaking years. It's about priorities and focus. Expedition 33 started production in 2019. And so that was part of a news cycle from a few days ago. As mentioned, we previously covered that. And now we've got this article from yesterday on May 27th titled, The Big Clair Obscur Expedition 33 Interview, Sandfall and Kepler on Team Size, the return of AA games, and what's next. I'm not going to be reading the whole interview here, but there are a few select parts that I would like to go over. Starting with this section here with some quotes from Handrahan of Kepler. I think that there's been a lot of irresponsible practices in the industry, he continues, referring to the inherent risks involved in ballooning AAA budgets and team sizes. Some games can make it work. Grand Theft Auto 6 is going to make it work. I mean, we'll see about that. But continuing, I think we can all say with great confidence, oh, not me, I'm actually really skeptical. But there are plenty of games made with very large teams and for huge amounts of money that don't land. And there is a human cost to running things that way. People lose their jobs. God knows how many layoffs there's been in the industry over the last few years. And just so we're clear on this really quick, the devs for Clair Obscur are Sandfall Interactive and the publisher is Kepler Interactive. Handrahan being with Kepler. But yeah, he is right to call out the gigantic team sizes of a lot of these AAA companies and the games that they work on. I mean, there's been literal memes about how the credits take like hours upon hours to finish on games that are, calling them subpar would even be generous. So then we're going to get a very interesting bit of insight from Sandfall's COO and producer, Francois Maurice. Yeah, French. It's a French guy. My terrible pronunciation aside, check this out. And once again now, this is the CEO of the developers, devs here. In terms of main credits over 4 years production, we were on average about 30 people, clarifies Maurice. We started with less than 10 people, scaled up to until 30, and close to 40, and then scaled a little bit down. You mentioned Korean animators, but it's important to mention that none of them were full-time. They were doing some extras besides some other jobs of animation, so the core team was on average 30 people in a home studio, plus privileged contractors like the lead writer or the composer. For example, I included them in that core team. For comparison to a recent AAA flop, I believe Veilguard at the peak of their production had a core team of around 200 people. Going back to Maurice, there's then this section titled No Bloat. He also questions the need to make games bigger. One of the things that's great about Expedition 33 is it really respects the player's time. It gives them plenty to do and it gives them plenty of satisfaction, but it isn't arbitrarily 500 hours of gameplay. It's impactful because it's scoped correctly. It doesn't have any sense of bloat or extraneous things that are put there just to make it larger and larger and larger. Brevity should be more of a virtue in gaming. Something can be better by being shorter, something that's being discussed in film at the moment. Every film seems to be 2.5 hours long, and I think most people are like, can they all be a bit shorter, please? Because we have other things to do with our lives. Maurice notes that the focus for Clair Obscur was always on quality over quantity. From the beginning, we wanted to do an intense and short experience. The first length estimates of the game were closer to 20 hours for the main quest. I think we ended up closer to 30, even 40 hours if you take a bit of time. As a player, there are so many great games out there that I want to experience, and what's important to me is the level of excitement and fun I get from a game, rather than how long it is. He also questions the link between game length and price. The value that players get from games does not align systematically with the length of the game. For example, one of my favorite games of all time is Inside, which lasts about 2 hours, but it's one of the most polished and intense experiences and even life-changing for some people. Yeah, so I'll just say, to me, all of that stuff requires more context. There are some games where, yeah, I want to play for hundreds of hours. For example, and I know this is probably like the biggest self-report I could ever make about like not beating the femboy allegations or whatever, but I'm a Paradox gamer. Yeah, I play Hearts of Iron 4 and Stellaris and CK3. So, you know, I like to get a lot of hours out of those games. But it's completely different than like a game like Clair Obscur, for example. You know, like these are completely different genres. So it depends on the genre, depends on the sort of game we're talking about here. This discussion about price in comparison to the amount of time you get out of the game does make me nervous, though, because some of you guys might recall the situation from 2023 where Take-Two's Strauss Zelnick, Take-Two being the parent company of Rockstar, was essentially trying to make an argument that boiled down to GTA 6 is going to give you so many hours of playtime. You're going to get way more hours out of GTA 6 than you would, for example, seeing a movie and spending your money on that. So we should be charging you guys a lot of money for GTA 6, essentially trying to excuse charging as much as possible for GTA 6. And as we've seen since this article back in 2023, that price has already been going up and up and up and up. Anyways, finishing off with the Clair Obscur stuff, it is good that the publisher and devs were making some statements that were rightfully criticizing the AAA industry these days. And very quickly, we'll take a look at some responses the interview's getting. So about $40 million tops. And they sold 3.3 million copies already. The 40 million being in reference to an estimate for how much it cost to make Clair Obscur. While they did not provide an exact amount, they did reference prior games such as Mirror's Edge from back in the day, saying that Clair Obscur probably cost less. So I believe that's what this person's like estimating here, saying once again, so about $40 million tops, and they sold 3.3 million copies already, with around 50 hours of gameplay, and all of them amazing, with a budget possibly around 10 times less than AC Shadows. That is what I call an absolute, complete, massive takedown. Indie studios can get a whole lot more done than these quadruple A studios with far less budget. That's some of the icing on the cake, by the way. Aren't some of the Clair Obscur people, devs who like saw how terrible Ubisoft was getting and they hopped off the Ubisoft train? They like quit Ubisoft and went and made their own studio and then made Clair Obscur. Wow, that budget being smaller than anyone is guessing is impressive. They deserve every bit of this success. Everything they've done has been completely based and the best way to handle things. AAA and quadruple A has become corrupt cesspit, and only good things they can do is to die, as malignant tumors cannot create, just consume and destroy to grow itself. Okay, I gotta ask, is the AAA industry still trying to make quadruple A a thing? Because I thought that was like a one-off thing that Ubisoft tried to do with Skull and Bones, and then they got mocked by everyone, and like, I haven't really seen the studios or the publishers using that anymore, I don't think. So yeah, is Ubisoft and others like still trying to make that a thing, or is it just a meme? That's my question. Because maybe I missed something hilarious if some more studios were trying to propagate that quadruple A nonsense. And if you made it to the end of the video, here's some bonus comedy for you really quick. So we talked about the publisher Kepler also being the publisher for Clair Obscur, but they're also the publisher for this game called Sifu. And did you know that the modern audience over on Gaming Circle Jerk was recently very mad at Sifu? From just a few days ago, that takes us over to Reddit. They say, do not get Sifu from Epic Games this week. I guess it's on sale there. Spoiler alert, is also on sale on Steam. So they're like showing this guy, this like co-founder and creative director of the dev studio. And the followers he's got, you can see, including people like J.K. Rowling, etc., etc. And I guess this like really upsets the, Gaming Circle Jerk modern audience over on Reddit. And they're now disavowing this game. Don't you dare buy it, guys. Don't you dare buy Sifu. But yeah, like, this game actually looks pretty sick. I guess you play as this martial artist, and if you die, you age, and the older you get, the more damage you do, but the less health you get or something like that, and you got to go through stages and, like, get better at using the toolkit you have, and you can, like, buy upgraded techniques and stuff. To my understanding, I just, like, watched a really brief review of this game. You guys know I love martial arts, so I think it looks like a pretty cool premise. The only reason I might not pick it up is because I really don't like using a controller if I can help it, and I think this is a game where you kind of, I don't want to say need to use a controller over keyboard and mouse, but it seems highly recommended. So yeah, that's got me a little, weary about picking it up, just because of my own, like, weird personal preference, I suppose. Aside from that, though, I mean, like, the game looks freaking awesome. But yeah, 60% off on Steam, and it's really funny those people on Reddit are all, like, being the follower police. I'll leave it there, guys. Thank you for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed the coverage today. Consider liking and subscribing if you did. Appreciate you, and I'll see you in the next one.